Another day, another double IPA, this time from Burnt Mill Brewery. This is Perpetual Fog, an 8% double IPA, but what's it going to be like? Keep watching to find out. Welcome back to Rocker's Beer Review. Today we're going to Burnt Mill Brewery. Haven't had many from Burnt Mill Brewery, and certainly for a long time, but I've had some before in the past. I'm sure there's some reviews on the channel, but I couldn't remember the last time I had one. But this is part of the Beer Dad's Strong Pale and Hoppy, the box that I bought. I've seen the video for that. All the videos I've done prior to this will be the beers from that double IPAs, and I got 10 beers for £28.50 or something like that, which works out £2.85 a beer. Very good value. Obviously that was a one-off, 50% off plus an extra 2 beers, hence why it came down to quite cheap, but definitely a great deal. And I would say that if go and find Beer Dad beer subscription and sign up to them with put your email address in and stuff, and you will probably get an offer that was similar to that within a few months, I would have thought. But great value, and all the beers I've had so far have been really good. They've not been like the cheap double IPAs that you might be able to find in your sort of local obscure bottle shop. These are good brands, and have all been great so far. So hopefully this is still going to continue the greatness. Nelson Sauvin Mosaic Fog DIPA, it says, but actually when I read the little bit of the blurb on the back, there's also a little bit of Enigma in there. Now Enigma is, for you that know, you've seen reviews on the channel, I'm quite a big fan of it. It is a bit like Nelson Sauvin, but it's a more mellow version of it. You get the grape and all that sort of stuff in it, but it's pretty good. Barley oats, no wheat, just barley and oats in this, but it's fog, and I think the whole thing with the fog is it's going to be a big hazy sort of thing. So, Rocker, stop talking and start drinking. Let's crack it open, get it in the old glass, and see how foggy it will be. As I said, I don't know, Burnt Mill, they've been around a while, but it's not a brewery that I pick up very often. So, yeah. Interesting to see. Well, certainly this is not as foggy as I thought it would be. We've got a yellowy, very carbonated, or a lot of carbonation going up the glass there. Yes, it's a yellow straw coloured beer, but it is hazy, but it's not your sort of thick dippers. If you've seen any of the ones before, I mean, pretty much most of the double IPAs that I've done on the channel, certainly, 4 out of 5 of them are much thicker looking than this. This almost looks like a hazy pale ale, really, in terms of how it looks. We've got 2 fingers of there. I'd say fairly loose head. You can see lots of little loose bubbles there around the edges. Carbonation, as I say, is slowing down a bit. Sometimes, I think I've said it many times, you see lots of carbonation, think, oh, this is going to be carbonated, but it's just, I don't know, it's just the way it pours. If anyone knows why that is, sometimes you see it and it all clings to the glass, pours up, you think, oh God, it's going to be fizzy. But sometimes it's actually more the opposite, because all the carbonation just hits the bottom, moves up into the sort of head area, helps retain the head a little bit better, and you don't get a fizziness about it. I'm doing a lot of rattling on here, and let's do some serious smelling and drinking. So, aroma, very citrusy. Yeah, you've got that Nelson Sauvin twang in there, but it's much lighter. It's not as... There is a nice level of aroma, but it's not as pungently a Nelson Sauvin aroma. Again, like you get with a lot of beers with Nelson Sauvin, and especially with a double IPA, you expect that to be a bit more in your face. It smells nice. It smells inviting. What it doesn't give off is the fact that it's an 8% double IPA. So let's see if it tastes like one. Cheers, everyone. Yeah, this is not up there with the quality of the ones we've had so far. And it's very different. So it's very light, almost to the point where it's slightly watery, which is a bit weird for an 8%. You are getting that big hit of whether it's alcohol or hoppiness, where there's not really a distinct flavour. So I thought this was going to be a heavy Nelson Sauvin sort of flavoured beer, but it isn't. I think maybe because there's barley and oats, no wheat as such. And maybe it's because I think it's quite a different malt profile than a lot of beers. It's quite it's very light. Drink it in and you think lots of big citrus flavors, lemons, grapefruit, a bit of sort of guava. The Nelson Sauvin is sort of there, but I wouldn't say that it's a bit of wine sort of flavour as well, which is I think as well the strongness of that sort of flavour. It's difficult to sort of it's a bit wine flavoured, a bit grape wine, whatever, but it's quite strong. It's not bright. Sometimes we have a lot of these, the Nelson Sauvin especially, can give us those sort of orchard fruit sort of vibes, much more sort of apples and pears and crunchiness and melon and kiwi and stuff like that. I'm not getting that with this. I'm getting almost like if you had a glass of white wine and it's not quite, not quite the right temperature or not quite a quality white wine. It's got that slightly vinegary taste. I'm getting a little bit of that sort of with this. I'd say it's more of a little bit of a vibe than it is a flavour, but it's just a different approach to Nelson Sauvin, I think, in this beer. I mean, I poured it now. I'd almost say that's getting a little hazy. It's one of these sort of beers that, all the haze is at the bottom of the can. This is a bit weird. It's quite easy drinking. I just think there's that little vinegary sort of flavour, sharpness of flavour. As you get that hit, quite quickly you're getting that. And that sort of mellows a little bit in the mouth. And you're almost getting a slightly sort of resinous pininess coming through. And I suppose what it is a little bitterness of grapefruit. So there's a little bit of interesting complexity. Obviously got mosaic in it as well. I'm not getting much of the mosaic. That's your bubblegum, your sort of slight berry flavours, tropical. For me, it doesn't quite work. It's not bad, but because I've had so many great double IPAs previous to this, it's a little bit disappointing. A little bit thin in the mouthfeel, a little bit sharp on that grapefruit, slightly sort of vinegary, tart. Or tart's not the right. I think it is. Just imagine a white wine, a cheap white wine, and that sort of flavour you can sometimes get off. That's as easy. That's the best way I can describe what this is like. It doesn't quite get there, but it very upfront hints at it, and you get that flavour and you think, oh, this is not great, and then suddenly that mellows a little bit, and then you get more of that sort of grapefruit flavour, sharp lemon and lime flavour, and a resinous sort of piney almost flavour. So it's a very different double IPA than what you would expect. It's not. It's still on the New England style of double IPA. It's not a West Coast by any means, but there's just a little bit difference in flavour. I think the malt profile is different. And what does it say? It says a soft malt profile. That's all it says. And then it says, gives a distinct wine-like character, white grape and bright citrus, blending with berries and tropical fruits, and a touch of enigma was added to round off the flavours with a depth of dankness and sweet fruits. Yeah, I think that's it with enigma. There is a real dankness in there, but it's a slightly, it's more on the sort of citrus bitterness sort of dankness than the sort of over-ripened sort of tropical fruit dankness, which I think, and stone fruit dankness, I think, which you get on a lot of beers with non-New Zealand hops. So I think a lot of people would enjoy this. It's an old school sort of flavour of double IPA. You can taste a little bit of the strength, whether that's the strength, whether that's this, as I say, this vinegary sort of flavour that comes in. It's not bad, but I've had so many better double IPAs. So let's get some scores. Okay, the scores are in for Perpetual Fog. This is an 8% double IPA with Nelson Sauvin, Mosaic, and a touch of Enigma. It must be such a touch because it's not actually written on the front here, but it is in the back. I think I've been spoiled from double IPAs recently, so I'm a little bit disappointed. It's still not a bad beer, but let's get the scores. Starting with aroma, appearance, flavour, value for money. As I said, I paid £2.85 really for this beer, so pretty damn good value. And finally, my overall experience. We tot the scores up, and it's not, we've had quite a lot in the 80s in the highly recommended. This isn't quite there. We've got a total score of 76, so it's recommended, right sort of in the middle of the recommended. As I said, I think it's more a case of I had some really good double IPAs and I've been a bit spoiled by them. I've just realised that my camera is probably a bit too high up. So unfortunately, you may have seen me looking like I'm peering above a wall. But yeah, and there's that slightly not weird, but different flavour, I would say. Very light. It's quite easy drinking. It's an old school dipper, I think. I think I've had double IPAs like this before, and it doesn't, where the other ones are right. They drinking differently. You get the body, but you're not getting the alcohol and stuff. I feel that you're getting a little bit of the alcohol, but I just think it's probably the way that the hops have worked and the way that the malt bill is slightly different than normal. It's a lighter beer, and it's got more of that sort of piney resinous that comes in sometimes with double IPAs. So let me know, have you had any from Burnt Mill before? I know they've done a few of these fog series. Again, I thought it was all about the haziness, and I would say it's not as hazy as a lot of beers. I've had hazier IPAs than this. So yeah, but let me know if you've had this before and what you think of it. Is Burnt Mill, do they use a different type of hops? A lot of their beers are more like this, say lighter, thinner, less sort of oily, less sort of chewy, I suppose, in the mouthfeel, and a lot lighter and a lot more. Yeah, I think you get different flavours from it because of the mouthfeel. It's an important thing, the mouthfeel. It's very important. It really affects the enjoyment, I think, of beers. But it's not bad, but, and I've still got quite a few more. I've got one from Pressure Drop, which is, obviously these are double IPAs. Pressure Drop's got one. I've got one from Hackney Church, I think they're called. Never had anything from them before. I've got another one from another brewery that I've got a list here. I'm reading them from my head, but I've got a list. Death by Confetti Cannon. Oh yeah, the brewery's Disruption is Brewing. Never heard of them. I haven't had anything from them. And the other one is Hackney Church. And then the Pressure Drop, which I have had beers from Pressure Drop, but not for a long time. So I'm interested to see how that one's going to go. And then the last one, which I'll probably drink last, is a West Coast IPA. So it's the only non-double IPA, although it's a 7.3%. So we're pretty close to being a double IPA. Yeah, we've had, I think, the Azvex, the Phantom, and the Overtone especially, very, very good beers. As I say, this one's a bit different and not quite up to it, but we'll see how we get on with the others. But still, I still think it's still recommended. So give it a try if you want to. And until the next one, please like, please subscribe, drink a craft beer, and keep on rocking.